Beside me to take you through free practice today is a man with 3 decades of racing experience under his belt. It is, of course, Anthony Davis.
Welcome back to this YouTube channel.
Thanks for joining us today, Anton. Tell me, where should we be focusing our attention today?
I think we need to be
playing a little bit more F1 2018.
Cars are able to push a single set of tyres. While everyone will be trying different setups and running with different fuel loads, if you're attentive enough, you can definitely...
So I'm going to turn those guys off. So this is just practice on this. It's a practice lap. They have you practice it like 4 times, I believe, before they let you go ahead and play the race. So it's like qualifying practice. I like the in-cockpit view. You know, I was looking on YouTube at the F1 cars, and they have that thing in the middle where you can barely see. Must be a safety. They have like a bar that goes in it, and then it has a piece of carbon fiber over it. I mean, the game would be realistic, but it was interesting to see how they're constructed if you look at them, the actual cars. But you know, they've had some fatalities. I'm surprised those little go-karts, they have those little like 100cc go-karts. Those things are insanely fast. They go like 60. They have like, just like young kids getting in them. Like getting into high school, 12, 14. They go flying in those things. Actually saw one on, in my local area here. It was on Craigslist for sale. They only wanted like a couple grand for the thing. It'd be kind of interesting to get and just pop in, you know, like, hey, I'm going to start racing, by the way. A game like this could really get you understanding the basics, especially if you're a kid that doesn't understand driving very well. This can really be quite the educational experience, but it's realistic enough, it's fun to do just for fun. I mean, the graphics on that grandstand there are pretty amazing. F1 really is some of the best racing. You get a beautiful, clean track. It's almost like a golf course made out of cement. It's that nice. If it's well kept or brand new, even better. You don't see a lot of wear marks on this game, and it does look kind of really clean. They didn't build in much dirt here. Looks like I got a brake assist on that one, maybe. Yeah, that was brake assist. It does it a little bit, but not completely. Just so you don't completely overshoot it just ridiculously. I seriously turn that stuff off normally. You have to look in the menu. If the graphics are good enough, you should know when to stop. It's when the graphics aren't good that you have a hard time figuring it out. And most of the good games now are putting the speed indicator on the track like that with the little green arrows that turn red when you're going too fast. Whoever came up with that is a genius, really. That's an excellent standard for racing games. So it's a little less eventful when there's no cars to race, but this is what practice is. I usually talk about something during these sessions. I don't know if I could think about anything, it would be the Subsonex. If anyone's seen the Subsonex, it's an ultralight jet, and it's kind of like the BD5. The BD5 came out in the 70s, and it was a really nice, tiny personal jet. But the Subsonex is the Sonex was a small kit plane that you can build, and it would come with like a motor, normal with a prop and all. But this one has a jet on it, so they call it the Subsonex. Like you're going subsonic. But man, they in 2014, a guy flew it at the Oshkosh Festival. It's like a fly-in where everybody does airplanes, brings their airplane to a big festival, air show. And man, what a beautiful flying, small, tiny aircraft. The TJ-100 is 266 pound thrust turbojet. I don't think it's a turbofan where it has a fan that it pushes. It's just the jet itself, so it's kind of like a little rocket that brings in its own air. 266 pounds of thrust, and man, it looks better from outside the cockpit. When I've seen cockpit video, it's going pretty quick, but I mean, I think it's a little over 200 miles an hour, but it's not mind-blowing speed. But when you see it from outside of the cockpit, just see it like flying by, what a graceful flying aircraft. I can't believe it. And I wish and I hope that somebody sees that and realizes that belongs in video games, especially like a VR video game. The Subsonex, the BD5, things like that. The working man's dream. That's really what that is. It is in sight. If you consolidated your efforts, okay, I'm not going to buy this, I'm not going to buy that. I'm going to stop, wasting money here. Your money would pile up enough that you could afford that. It's possible. You would just have to move things around. You would have to give a few things up. But normal working people would be able to afford that if they decided to. So what's nice is if it was in a video game, be a little bit of instant gratification on the whole idea of it. And I think a lot of people think about neat hobbies like having a Subsonex, but that thing is dangerous. You really got to know how to fly it. And yes, when you know how to fly it, no, it's not that dangerous, but you can't just jump into it and fly. So not knowing how to fly it is dangerous. And the majority of anybody that's interested in doing that would not know how to fly it very well. They might do RC airplanes for a while, like myself. Maybe they can fly RC helicopter. They understand the aerodynamics of everything. They understand, autoing down and keeping the nose down when you run out of power and just some basic things, but stalling characteristics, tail heavy, you would understand all that from modeling, but being in the cockpit and making sure that you don't completely screw up is a different game. Speaking of games, that would be an excellent thing to have in VR, or even high fidelity, flat video gaming. But being in the cockpit of something like that and have it being extremely realistic, and then not giving like hoops or anything to jump through, but have it be more air show oriented, maybe put on an air show. Complete certain amounts of tricks, maybe an Endelman or whatever they call that, where you go up and turn the tail around and stuff. They have that split 8 or something. Split S. There's different moves you could learn. I don't know, maybe you could do like transportation of hazardous goods. We need to take the heart transplant to the hospital and have it there in 30 minutes before the patient dies. You get in your Subsonex and it'll have like cloud cover that you have to fly under. Low visibility. You might hit a tree, or you might hit something. Like real world scenario, not like golden rings in the sky that go bloop. And the reason I talk about that when I'm playing this game is because this is in that genre of bad. I'm going to say the. I was going to accidentally cuss there, but really good. I was going to say the opposite of really good. Really good activities, life activities, like driving around in a Formula One car is high on my list of good activities to be doing. So would be flying a Subsonex. Times when you're like, hey, you know, this is the 2 hours I'm doing this in my life. I need to soak this up like a sponge because it's going to be over and I'm existing in it right now and I need to be taking it all in, you know, like a vacation. Where's my speedometer? 297 kilometers. Yeah, it slowed me down. You know, I think it does that in practice, but in the race, it doesn't slow you down.
There's 4 laps of fuel remaining.
4 laps of fuel left. See, I was holding the gas down. It wouldn't let me get on the gas right there. So it's totally kind of dictating my actions on the throttle. It's letting me steer. It lets you get a little bit loose, like they'll let you overshoot it a little, but just not that much. Nothing really ugly. Like going 200 miles an hour into a wall, they just don't let it happen. That's like 220 miles an hour. I'm sure that feels ridiculously fast. But at the same time, you probably get used to it. Like, okay, I'm going to go 1,000,000 miles an hour past this grandstand. Here we go. Boom. Just do it. All right, you passed everybody, and I'm going to slow down. Then you hit the brakes. There's got to be something that kicks in before each race that just says, you know, this isn't natural. We're first to go 200 miles an hour and fly around the track. Not really traveling anywhere. I'm just kind of like hugging corners and speeding up, slowing back down. How dangerous is this? I hope I make it home and see my family, you know? And then they have the Formula E, which is an electric race event. I was watching that the other night, too. And I just don't think they have as much power. These are hybrid electrics, what I'm driving right now in the game. Formula One is, now they're 6-cylinder V6s, 1.5 liter, which is a tiny motor. And they're kind of a short stroke so that they can go up to 15,000 RPM. I was looking at the specs online. I think the compression stroke and everything, it's when it comes from top dead center and starts accelerating, the wrist pin is feeling 20,000 times the weight of gravity. Like the piston, because it has to accelerate the piston, the wrist pin, or the bearing there, and the crank in the arm. Something about, it was like in the range of 20,000 times gravity. Like 20,000 G's.